Okay, welcome to Module 11. A big focus of Module 11 is going to be factoring. We start off here with finding the greatest common factor for some terms. In number 1A here, we have two terms, and we're going to find the greatest common factor. Now, one method for doing this, if you're just getting started, is to write out the terms and then write all the factors or factor the term. And 30, if we remember factors down into, you could do the old factor tree, you could go 3 and 10 and then 2 and 5, but it ends up to be 2 times 5 times, or 3 times 5, and then we have x times x times x, and then 60 x to the fifth ends up being 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, and then x, 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 x. So if this is kind of a longer way to do the problem, but if you see here, we get what's in common here is we have a 2, a 3, a 5, and then we have 3 x's in common. Okay, so what the GCF, or the greatest common factor, ends up being is 2 times 3 times 5, which is 30, and x to the third. Now the way I look at this a little quicker is I think about, okay, what's the biggest number that would divide into 30 and 60? Okay, well, the biggest number that would divide into 30 and 60 would be 30. And then I look at the exponents here and I say, okay, hey, I have some x's in both of those, and then I have to take out the amount that they have in common. And what it ends up being is the least power, which ends up being x to the third, but they have to be in common. So you could look at it that way, or you could kind of break it down into the factoring. Okay, so I'm going to use the shorter method most of the time here. So what I first do is I look at the 10 here and the 75, and I think, okay, what's biggest number that will divide into 10 and 75? Well, 10 doesn't divide into 75 without a remainder. It's going to have a remainder of 5, so 10 doesn't work. Well, 5 will divide into both of these, so I know the GCF, or at least part of the GCF, is 5. Okay. Then I look for common variables. Well, this one doesn't have any variables, so there's no common variable, so the GCF just ends up being 5. Okay. Let's look at this next one, C. All right, looking at C, first I'm going to look at the number part, and you might have already spotted that the biggest number that's going to divide into 45 and 9 is 9. Okay. Then I'm going to look, and I see that I have some common y's here. Okay, so remember from A, we go with the least power here, and so I end up with 9y squared. Okay, that's the greatest common factor. All right. Next, we get something a little different. We get 3 terms, so I want to look through all 3 of the terms. I see a 2, a 14, and a 4. Well, the biggest number that will divide into all of those is 2. And then I look for x's in all of them. Let's see, that has an x, that has an x, and that has an x. So I'm going to go with the least power. So it's going to be x to the first. I'll just write x. And then I check to see if they each have a y. Here's a y, and a y, and a y. Well, the least power, this is y squared, y to the first. So the least power is y. Okay, so they take a little bit of practice. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube about this, but hopefully these couple will get you started. Thanks.